Brennan, thank you so much. President Trump has arrived back at the White House after spending the weekend golfing at his Mar-a-Lago estate in West Palm Beach, Florida. Hundreds of Haitian Americans and their supporters protested there Monday, demanding an apology from the president after he reportedly used vulgar language in discussing immigration from Haiti, El Salvador, and African nations. Also on Monday, the White House tweeted out a video of the president's weekly address. It commemorated Martin Luther King Jr. The president retweeted it from his personal account. Eugene Scott is a political reporter for The Washington Post, and he joins me now from Washington. So, Eugene, we know the president went to the Trump International Golf Club earlier Monday. What have other presidents done to mark the Martin Luther King holiday?
Sure. In the past, we've had President Bill Clinton volunteer with a senior center. We've had President George W. Bush volunteer with elementary school students writing postcards to Hurricane Katrina victims. We've had President Obama make vegetable and fruit gardens with school children. But this year, we saw the president for the first time, we believe, since about 1994, which is when MLK Day first was recognized as a day of service, commend and challenge Americans to participate in community service activities without participating in one himself.
Well, the president is defending himself, as you know, against claims of racism after he reportedly questioned why the U.S. accepted so many immigrants from expletive-hole countries like Haiti, El Salvador, and African nations at an Oval Office meeting last week. Here's what one of the Republicans at that meeting, Senator Lindsey Graham, said Monday.
The discourse right now is pretty low. We're producing some pretty good policy, but those of us in my business need to up their game. It's pretty embarrassing when you have to take your children out of the room just to report the news.
A fellow South Carolina Senator Tim Scott said Senator Graham told him the reports of the president's comments were basically accurate. And while other Republicans in that Oval Office meeting say that wasn't the case, Graham told the Post and Courier that his memory hasn't evolved. Why would some senators deny the president used that language?
And I think it's important to recognize that these senators are saying they don't exactly deny it. They're just saying their memories don't recall, or they didn't hear that word is the language they're saying. And so I think the question does become, why would they not remember something like that? It doesn't work in some of these Republicans' best interests to speak out publicly against the president when it comes to issues related to race. A couple of them are up for re-election, and their approval is closely tied to the president's approval. And I think what we have seen in the last several months is that the GOP has a very difficult time winning support from people of color. Doubling down on Senator Graham's comments, I think, could ultimately hurt some of these Republicans who were in the meeting who haven't come out and clearly said that the president said what the Democrats said he said.
Well, how much do you think that these alleged comments will play into whether lawmakers reach a DACA deal or pass a government funding bill by the end of the week?
It depends on how deeply committed lawmakers are to actually reaching a deal. This should not stop those who made up their mind that reaching an agreement for these 800,000 immigrants is what is most important. Somehow they'll have to get past this and realize that it's possible to find a way to make America a place and a permanent home for these undocumented immigrants, aside from all of the rhetoric that has been a distraction for most of this weekend.
Well, do you think that Republican senators will be able to convince enough Democrats to vote with them on Friday to keep funding the government?
Well, I don't think any of the Democrats want to see the government shut down. And so if they do not vote with the Republicans, I think they'll be very clear in communicating why it is that they could not agree to the deal that Republican lawmakers have put out. I think it's worth noting that some of the agreements or negotiations we've seen presented in the last 6 months in particular often include things that Democrats have said very clearly that they have no interest in agreeing to. And so I think they'll make it clear that it wasn't that they didn't want to reach an agreement. It's that what was offered to them was not in the best interest of their constituents.
All right, Eugene Scott, thank you.